Hare Krishna, everyone. So, I welcome you all to this course of Harināmāmṛta Vyakaraṇam. We are going to study Harinamāmṛta Vyakaraṇam written by Jiva Goswami, a Madhyama version of this. We will look at what is Harinamāmṛta Vyakaraṇam, what is Madhyama version, and other details further in this session. But before that, I am Vijay Somasundaram. I work as a software engineer. I live in the Bay Area in the US, and I'm a practitioner of Krishna consciousness, part of the ISKCON movement. I love studying, teaching, and reading Sanskrit. I'm also a student of Harināmāmṛta Vyakaraṇam. I haven't completed studying Harinamāmṛta Vyakaraṇam, but I have started this to help those who are planning to start and share whatever the knowledge I have learned. So that's the intention. Okay, let's delve into today's agenda. So first we will look at what is the grammar in itself. What are all the different types of grammars that are available, what exactly Vyākaraṇam means, and then we will see the overview of different grammar topics and how we should study Vyakarana. So this is very important. Many times, many of the teachers miss to tell you how you should study this Vyakarana, because it has a specific procedure, and if you don't follow, it will be very difficult for you to learn the whole Vyakarana. And then we'll try to start today with the first session, or first lesson, which is going to be one shloka, mangala charan shloka, and one sutra. So what does it mean, Vyakarana? This is a meaning of Vyakarana. There are different definitions given, but more or less they go along with the same line as I have given here. Vyakriyante vyutpadyante sadhu shabdaha anena iti vyakarana. So what does it mean, Vyakarana? Vyakriyante means vyutpadyante, which means that the derivation, just like in mathematics, you have several formulas, right? Let's say a plus b whole square is equal to a square plus b square plus 2ab, right? So there is a formula, final formula you get, and how they have derived that formula. So you go through different steps to arrive that formula. So similarly, every word in Sanskrit also has a derivation procedure. How from a root word we get the final word. For example, even in English, you have derivation. There is the word inform, and then you add ing at the end, it becomes informing, like it's an adjective. And then you also have inform plus ation, becomes information. So there is a derivation, though it is not taught in schools because it is not properly it's English is a very complicated language, and it doesn't have proper mathematical structure, but Sanskrit has mathematical structure. So you have base word or the root word from which you derive the other words. So how the derivation happens, that is by which we learn the derivation, that is Vyakarana. And it says sadhu shabdaha. So derivation of good words. So I can make any word out of in Sanskrit. Let's say there is the word Krishna, then I can say Krishneni, something like that. I can make, and then I can try to explain some meaning, or the famous words you would have heard, that Vishnaya, that was a person who is not very intelligent in Sanskrit grammar, and he says the word Vishnaya Namaha. But according to proper grammar, you should say Vishnave Namaha. You can say Krishnaya Namaha, but for Vishnu, you have to say Vishnave Namaha. But he says Vishnaya Namaha. So Vishnaya is not a proper word. So the grammar helps us to derive proper words. Sadhu Shabdaha. Anena means by this. So by that tool, which using which we can derive proper words, is called Vyakarana. One example I can give here. Here you see the word Rama. There's a spelling mistake here. Just fix this. Okay. Let's continue from here. The word Rama. So we know the word Rama is actually indicating Lord Ram, right? So it comes from the root Ramu, which means sorry, one second. So it comes from the root word Ramu, which means krida, play, one who plays. Lord Ram performs many pastimes. There are other meanings also, but that's the meaning of Ram Dhatu, or the root word. And then we add some, it's called Kai, we add some suffix to it. Then it becomes Ramu plus A. Then it again undergoes some transformation. Then it becomes Rama. Then you add another suffix Su and becomes Ramas. The U here is actually Anubandha. It will go away. We'll learn that later. I'm just giving an example. Then it becomes the Sa becomes Ta, then it becomes Ramaha. So to derive the word Ramaha, we go through this process. So this derivation, if somebody asks how did the word Ramaha comes, then this you can go through, we can explain this derivation. And this derivation is started by the Vyakarana too. Okay. So before that, I actually forgot to acknowledge my teachers. So I would like to offer my obeisances to Srila Prabhupada. Because of him, I got into the Hare Krishna movement, and because of that, I got interest in Sanskrit. And I also offer my obeisances to my guru, His Holiness Bhani Swami Maharaj. And I would like to express my gratitude to Dr. Soumya Krishnapur, who is the head of Vyoma Labs. She is teaching amazing courses in YouTube platform, in her website, in their website, Sanskrit from home.in. And I would also like to express my gratitude to Dr. S.L. Sitaram Sarma, who is teaching in Tirupati National University, Sanskrit. And I also learned from Samskrita Bharati. So I express my gratitude toward them. And Madhyama Prabhu, without his work on Harinamāmṛta Vyākaraṇam, it would be very difficult for most of us to study the grammar itself. I also would like to express my gratitude to Paramasundar Prabhu, who taught me the Harinamāmṛta Vyakaranam, and also to Satyanarayana Babaji, from whom I also learned Harinamāmṛta Vyakaranam, and all of my friends. So now coming back to this point, that Vyakarana is actually a tool to find out the derivation of the different words. So where does Vyakarana fit in the whole gamut of scriptures? So we have here a picture. Here you see, let me just actually use a laser. 1 second. So you have Vedas here in the center. So Vedas are protected by 6 other works called Vedangas. So Vedanga means a limb of Vedas, literally. So they are there to make the students access the Vedas in a proper way and also to protect the Vedas. So how does it protect? We'll see. The Vedangas are Siksha, Chanda, Jyotisham, Kalpa, Niruptam, and Vyākaraṇam. The Shiksha teaches how to pronounce different words in Sanskrit and the different mantras of Vedas. And Chanda Shastra actually tells about the meters of different Sanskrit shlokas, like we have Anushtup, Trishtup, meters like that. It teaches us how to compose verses and how to identify the meter of the verse, how to compose the words in different meters, rules for composition of in different meters. And then you have Jyotisha. Basically, it teaches what is the how to find out the right time for conducting different yagyas. Kalpa, how to perform the yagyas. It gives the rules for that. And you have Nirupta, gives, it's basically like a dictionary meanings of the words, and Vyakarana, derivation of the words. Right? So these are the 6 Vedangas, and this is the Vyakarana we have, which is also part of the Vedanga. So Shiksha and Chanda, they protect the Swarupa of the Vedas, Vedic mantras. Basically, the Vedic mantra has to be pronounced in proper intonation and proper pronunciation, and also with the proper meter. So it protects the Swarupa of the Vedic mantras. And Jyotisha and the Kalpa, they provide, they protect the Anushtana, the performance of the Vedic rituals. Like, as I said, how do you find out different time for conducting the Vedic rituals, how to conduct the Vedic ritual itself. And you have Nirupta, which gives the meanings of the words, and Vyakarana, which derives the words. They protect the words of the Vedas, Artharaksha. So these are the 3 different functions provided by the 6 Vedangas. And Vyakaranam is what we are studying currently. Okay. Now, so to give a history of Vyakaranas, what we are going to study is Harinamāmṛta Vyākaraṇam, which is written by Jiva Gośvāmī. And before Jiva Gośvāmī, there were other Vyakaranas as well, the famous Panini's Ashtadhyayi, which is widely studied even today. And Ashtadhyayi is a full Vyakarana. Jiva Gośvāmī's Vyakarana is not a full Vyakarana in the sense that Jiva Gośvāmī's Vyakarana teaches us the Laukika Sanskrit mostly, whereas Panini's Ashtadhyayi teaches not just Laukika Sanskrit but also the Vedic Sanskrit. These are just extra some sutras, like around I think 800 extra sutras are there in Panini's Ashtadhyayi. Whereas Jiva Gośvāmī's focus was not to teach you the Vedas, but help you to understand the different scriptures, different works written by the Gośvāmīs and Bhagavatam itself, all and different commentaries to read in Sanskrit itself. So, if you have interest, you can proceed further to study Panini as well. But Jiva Gośvāmī's grammar is more than enough for most of us in ISKCON, and we are also not studying the whole grammar in itself. We are studying only part of the grammar. I will talk about that later. But before Panini himself, even there were other Vyakarana system. For example, in the Ramayana, it comes that Hanumanji learned 9 Vyakarana, Indra Vyakarana, Chandra Vyakarana, like that. So Panini has written his Vyakarana, I think 3000 years back sometime. And he also refers Vyakarana's grammar system available previously. And the whole Vyakarana is a set of sutras which tell you how all the words in Sanskrit can be derived. Most of the words. There are, of course, one or two words. Some words are exceptions, which are called the Arsha Prayoga. But other than that, most of the words you can find in the derivation. So Vyakarana follows the language being used by the people and by the rishis. It's not the other way around. It's not the Vyakarana teaches you. Rather, Vyakarana follows the usage of the words by the rishis and in the local world at the time as well. So that's about Vyakarana. And also, when you read the Chaitanya Charitamrita, you would come to know that Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu studied Kalapa Vyakarana. Now, coming back to Harinamāmṛta Vyakarana, Harinamāmṛta Vyakarana also, there are 2 versions. One is the Laghu and Brihat. The Laghu version is written by Rupa Gośvāmī, though some say that it was written by Jiva Goswami himself, but there are evidences provided by Madhyama Prabhu that points out that Laghu Harinamāmṛta Vyakarana was written by Rupa Goswami. It's around, I think, 700 to 800 sutras. Then you have Brihat Harinamāmṛta Vyakarana, which was written by Jiva Goswami. And this Brihat Harinamāmṛta Vyakarana has 3,181 sutras. Around 3,200 sutras. And out of that, Madhyama Prabhu has selected around 1,300 sutras as a Madhyama version, which is the most important sutras, using which you can start reading very easily all the works of Acharyas and Srimad Bhagavatam also. So those are the most important things. This reduction of the Vyakarana into a smaller work is not new to Harinamāmṛta Vyakaranam. It also exists in Panini's Vyakaranam also. So Panini has written his Vyakaranam into 8 chapters. He has divided it, as that's what it is called, Ashtadhyayi, 8 adhyayas. Adhyaya means chapters. And the problem people faced when learning Panini's Vyakaranam was that you have to derive one particular word, you have to refer to multiple chapters to arrive at a derivation. So basically, all the Panini sutras, around 4,000 sutras he has, you have to keep in your mind and you have to analyze through to derive a word, which is very difficult for people in the age of Kali Yuga, because Manda Samanda Mataha, our knowledge is going down. So later, around 500 years back, people were attempting to rearrange Panini's sutras into topics, different topics, so that if you have to derive, for example, a noun, all you need to remember is the noun topic, and there also there is only very specific section. You don't need to remember the whole thing in your mind, right? So they started to rearrange the topics, rearrange the sutras. And there were attempts even 500 years back, but the very famous and successful one without mistakes was done around 300 years back by Bhattoji Dikshita. His work is called Siddhanta Kaumudi. So Siddhanta Kaumudi is just a rearrangement of all the Panini Sutras, 4,000 Sutras, into topic wise. Now this breaks the flow of Panini Sutras because, just like you take the Bhagavatam, it's very difficult, whole canto, it's very difficult to actually segregate into sections. But you can take out the different verses and you can create topics, different topics. Okay, creation, this is one topic. Then there is sub-creation, another topic. Then Krishna's pastime, another topic. You can just rearrange things. But for example, Krishna's pastimes are in 10th canto, some are in 11th canto, some are in 1st canto, and some are in 3rd canto also. So all these things you can collate into one, like that, into different topics. But then that also breaks the flow of the whole story also, where it occurred, who was speaking whom. So similarly, when Panini's grammar was rearranged, it broke the flow. But still, when people study Panini's grammar, they study Siddhanta Kaumudi, and then, most of them just stop at that, study Siddhanta Kaumudi. And most of the people also don't study Siddhanta Kaumudi, which has around 4,000 verses. They study Laghu Siddhanta Kaumudi, which has around 1,200 sutras. So those are the very essential sutras using which you can nicely read the Sanskrit works. And so similarly, here also, Matsya Prabhu has selected around 1,300 sutras. It's called Madhyama version because there is a Laghu version which was written by Rupa Goswami, and this version is bigger than that one. So using which we can nicely study Sanskrit works. Okay, so that's about Harinamāmṛta Vyakaranam. Harinamāmṛta Vyakaranam was written by Jiva Gośvāmī, and there are two commentaries on that. One is one commentary is called Amrita Aswadini commentary, and this was written by Vaishnava named Gopala Dasa. And then there is one more commentary called Balatoshani, which was written by Hare Krishna Acharya. So Balatoshani is very short commentary, and the Amrita Aswadini is very long commentary. And on top of that, Matsya Prabhu has also written his own English commentary called Saṁkhyā. So, and Matsya Prabhu has also translated the Madhyama version into English, and he has also a Brihat version, but not fully complete. So that's about Harinamāmṛta Vyakaranam. And the speciality of Harinamāmṛta Vyakaranam than Panini's Vyakaranam is that Harinamāmṛta Vyakaranam starts with topic wise, so it understands the current people, it holds the students in mind, and then it was created like that. Jiva Goswami created for students, which means he has arranged already sutras in the topic wise, and the flow is also like that. So the flow is not broken. The flow is also there, and it is also divided into topics, which is easy for us to learn. And on top of that, everything is filled, all the sutras are filled with Krishna's names. So why is that important? So when you are learning a grammar, Vyakaranam, which you will see in further slides, that the most important thing you need to do is memorize the sutras. So for memorizing the sutras, you need to recite every day. You have to do the sadhana. Sadhana means you have to do some exercise. So you have to recite the sutras every day, multiple times, right? I will give you how to do that as well. But for doing that, if you are simply reciting the sutras, which does not have any Krishna's names, it's not very useful for the devotees. And for devotees, it becomes very dry to recite the sutras without having any Krishna's names. But Jiva Goswami has given us Krishna's names filled everywhere. So it becomes bhakti process for us when we are reciting the sutras also. So the main idea he has done there is he has taken the technical terms in grammar. In grammar, there are many technical terms. Like for example, you have this tan theta, cos theta, right? These are technical terms in trigonometry in mathematics. So like that, Jiva Goswami has, like that in Sanskrit also you have technical terms. Panini uses some abbreviated forms. For example, he calls the present tense as lat for a verb, and imperative statements as lot, imperative words as lot, like that. Whereas Jiva Goswami, he gives Krishna's names for that. So instead of calling lat, he calls Achyuta. And then instead of imperative statements as lot, he calls Vidhatru, which is the name of Lord Brahma, who is a Guna avatar of Krishna. And also, as you see in the first chapter, there are segregations of the alphabets. He has named it in nice way as Krishna's names. So everywhere Krishna's names is filled with in this grammar. So that's the speciality of Harinamāmṛta Vyakaraṇam. So now coming to the point, many of us have this question that, am I suitable to study Vyakarana, or should I start studying Sanskrit with studying the Vyakarana? I would recommend not to do so. Don't start your Sanskrit study with Vyakarana, although in the earlier days, it was like that. So when the kids go to Gurukula, they memorize all the sutras when they were small, and then when they were growing, they were studying the grammar nicely. The teacher would teach that. However, for us, and also in the olden days, they would speak in Sanskrit before even learning the Vyakarana. So now we don't do that, right? So if we jump directly into Vyakarana, it will be like mind-boggling to understand the different concepts and to memorize the sutras and do the exercise. And where am I? You will be thinking in the middle of the course, and how long it's going to take. It's a lot of effort to study Vyakarana. It's not simple. This Madhyama course itself, I'm envisioning that it will take at least 2 to 3 years for me to teach, complete this teaching, and for you also to take the same time. So if you start that, then to achieve some fruit in studying Vyakarana, which is that you will be able to read scriptures, will take a long time. So I would say study some other simple courses on Sanskrit. Like Sanskrit, the Bharati has 4 levels: level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4. They don't focus on the Vyakarana in itself, but they are teaching the rules of Vyakarana in a very generic way, and without introducing the sutras. So more or less for you to be able to get an understanding of the construction of the Sanskrit statements and do different operations. So that's actually quite nice. You can even just to complete those courses and you can start reading. But Vyakarana gives you a thorough understanding. So why this comes? This is why it comes. Like for example, Rama, where did it come from? This is how it came from. Then Vyakarana can teach you exactly like that. There in the other courses, you will not get forms like this. You will know Ramaha means it is in the subject form case 1.1, which you will learn later. But you won't know how it came through like this. So only by Vyakaraṇam you will know exactly the derivation forms, and also through the practice of these derivations, you tend to recognize new words quite faster. Gives you fluency also. So that's the benefit of studying Vyakarana. So also, I wouldn't recommend you to jump directly into Vyakarana. I would ask you to do some other courses before coming to Vyakarana. I'm also planning in the future to create some courses for this, but right now I'm starting with this one. Okay. So now, grammar topics. Don't read through everything. It will be very confusing for you. So on the left-hand side, you can see you have 7 topics listed out here. So these are the 7 topics that form the Vyakarana. So we have Sandhi, Nama, Akhyata, Karaka, Kridanta, Samasa, Tadhita. These are the 7 topics which we will study in any Vyakarana. So Sandhi, what is Sandhi? It's a transformation of letters. For example, you see here Jagat plus Nathaha becomes Jagannathaha. Harivenurva. So Harivenurva, that's the sutra applying which we get the form Jagannatha. So this the became na. So a letter is changing, or akshara is changing because of another letter or a context. For example, the context would be Krishna's would become Krishna. So like that. So the end of the word is a context, basically, which you will learn later. So because of other letters or because of context, a letter can change, and that is the Sandhi, changing of letters. It doesn't change the meaning, anything. It is the same meaning. That is the law of the universe. That's the meaning. If you write like this, or if you write like this, it's the same meaning. Okay, but when you're writing in slokas, you need to compulsorily use Sandhi. But when you are doing in writing sentences, you may not need to use. It's your option to use Sandhi. But most of the words written, even the commentaries written by our acharyas, they will use most of the Sandhis. So we need to learn the Sandhis to be able to read their works. And this kind of things you may see in English in some places, may not be there everywhere. For example, you have the word run, and then you add ing, which becomes, sorry, I'm writing via mouse and it takes so much effort for me to write. So it becomes running. And then you have another word in English, eat, plus ing, it becomes eating. So here, we just directly joined these two things as eating. But here, there is one more additional yen has come here. It has been introduced. So that's Sandhi. Similarly, some letters can also change. So in Sandhi, you have 3 operations. One is a new letter can come inside, or a new letter can be deleted, or a letter can change. So these are all Sandhi operations. So in English also, so you see things like this. So that is Sandhi. And then you have Nama. Nama is making different noun forms. So let's say here you have the Hari, and then you are saying, I want to offer to Hari. Then you add another suffix for that. Then it becomes Haraye. This is case form. The number is 4.1. We'll study what is this 4.1, but it basically says unto that person, unto Lord Hari, if you want to say. I gave fruit unto Lord Hari. Aham haraye phalam dadami. I am giving this fruit to Lord Hari. So it becomes Hari becomes haraye. So in English, you use the articles to do the same thing. For example, I want to give to Hari. So you say to Hari or unto Hari. So this to, unto, these are all separate words which is used to denote to the recipient of that object, right? But here, the word itself changes. Haraye phalam dadami. Phalam is as it is. Dadami is the same. I'm giving. Haraye unto Hari it becomes. But if Hari comes towards me, Harihi agacchati, you say. There the form is Harihi. So like that. So there are different forms of the nouns. These are all nouns. Nouns get changed into different forms to denote different cases. So that is the Nama, second chapter in Harinamāmṛta Vyākaraṇam that deals with that. And third chapter is Akhyāta, which is basically making now a verb forms. So for verb also, you have different forms. For example, run, the past tense, forget about run. For eat, the past tense is ate, right? Which changes its form for past tense. For future tense, you add additional article, will eat, right? Sorry, this is not article. This just now I looked it up. It is actually preposition in English. Preposition, that you place some word in front of that. Anyways, so you place some other words in front of whether it is a preposition or it's a helping word. Anyways, you use additional words to convey that future tense. For past tense, you change the form here. For run, it is the past tense is also going to be run. The future, it is not going to change its form. So, sorry, the past participle is actually run. The future past tense is actually ran, right? So it also changes its form. So similarly, in Sanskrit also, you have the word pat, is the root word, which means to study, learn, all these things. Then you have a suffix to bring the present tense word pattati, saha pattati, chatraha pattanti. So basically, you're conveying present tense, plural form, singular form, past tense, like this different verb forms. So you can have multiple verbal forms. So that, how do you create multiple verbal forms? How do you derive multiple verbal forms? That will be taught in Akhyāta Prakarana. So this is about making verbs. This is about making noun forms. This is about making verbal forms. And you have Karaka. So Karaka actually teaches the different meanings of the forms that we have learned in Nama and Akhyāta. What does past tense mean? Past tense mean something that happened in the past. Like that, different suffixes and the meanings of different suffixes in different contexts. All these things will be taught in the Karaka. And then you have Krudanta. So Krudanta is actually making noun from a verb. For example, here you see this running is an adjective in English, which is you can also call it a noun in one sense, because you say that he is running. or you can say he is a doctor. So you use the same form to convey he is a doctor. He's telling his profession or identity. But then here you're not saying identity, you're telling his action. How can you use the same form? For example, you won't say he is eat. He eats, you will say. Or he ate. You won't say he is ate. Because that's a verbal form. But this is adjective, is also part, in Sanskrit, it's a noun. So you can use the same form. So, but this adjective or noun has been formed from a verb. Run is a verb. So you have added some suffix and you have brought this one. So like that, the Kridanta also makes some nouns from verb. For example, the same root verb we have seen is pat. Here you can use, and then you add another suffix called tumun, patitum, to study. For example, patitum ichchami, I desire to study. So patitva, after studying, or patan, while studying, right? So these are the different noun forms. This is actually a noun which you can make out of a verb. So that is the Kridanta. Then you have samasa, compound words. For example, in English, to tell you, you have the word self, then you put hyphen, realization. So what does it mean? Realization of the self. But then you made a compound word to mean that self-realization. It is not that self is realizing, but it's a realization of the self, right? So the compound meaning loses some of the intermediate words, and then it gives you a very succinct form. So similarly, samasa in Sanskrit also, you combine multiple words and you make a compound words. That is also making nouns again. Tadita, making a noun from a noun. For example, you have the word Vasudeva. It is actually derived from Vasudeva. So Vasudeva's son is Vasudeva, that is Krishna. So you take one word and then you modify it to derive another noun. Vasudeva is also a noun. Vasudeva is also a noun. The compound word example is Radha, Krishna. Like that. So these are the 7 topics we are going to learn in Harināmāmṛta Vyākaraṇam. These are the 7 topics which are taught in other grammar system as well. Why do we have different grammar systems? So the different grammar systems exist to give you a derivation form. They may derive it slightly different. They may add a different suffix or whatever it is, but they will come out to the same conclusion. It's like in mathematics, when you are deriving a formula, you can derive in one way or you can derive in another way. You can have multiple derivation, but you come to the same result, right? So like that in Sanskrit also, from the root word, how are you going to come to the final word? So they will give you different methods. Most of them are very similar. So and then how the author itself arranges the sutras, how he makes it succinct, or for example in Harinamāmṛta Vyakaraṇam, the intention is not to make the sutras very short form, but to make it in a very clear way so that it becomes easier for students. It's 11 o'clock. Learn. It's written with students in mind. Okay. So in this this, and this. These four topics deal with noun, or if finally they create noun or noun forms. Then this particular thing does verbal form, and this is just a meaning of different forms, and this is transformation of letters. So 4 topics on nouns, 1 topic on verb, 1 topic on meanings, and then 1 topic on transformation of letters. This is what we'll be describing Harinamāmṛta Vyākaraṇam. So the number of sutras, I'm going to share another screen. Yes. So let me share another screen.
Hare Krishna, everyone. This is.
So here, you see this. Let me actually make it bigger. So this is the Sutra division. So you have the chapters. You have saṁkhyā, Sandhi. You can call it Sandhi. Nama, Akhyata, Karaka, Krudanta, Samasa, and Pradita. These 7 chapters we saw. So total Jiva Goswami has composed 3,181 sutras. And this is the percentage. The biggest chapter being the Tadita, almost like around 50%, almost more than one third of the grammar is just this one chapter, Tadita. The next big chapter is verbal forms. How do you make verbal forms? And the smallest chapter is the Sandhi. It's actually quite small. You can learn it very easily. And the next smallest is noun forms. The good part is most of the words you encounter are going to be noun forms. So just by learning these 2, you can actually learn a lot. And next is Karaka, the meanings, and then the Samasa comes, and then you have Krudanta. So this is for the Brihat version. We are not going to study the Brihat version. We are going to study the Madhyama version, which you have 1,278 sutras. Here, 3,181 sutras. So we reduced more than half of that. So here you see that Tadita portion has been reduced a lot. 237 sutras only we are going to learn compared to 1,137 sutras. We don't need so many Taditas, actually speaking, for our practical purpose. And so I'm going to little bit make it bigger so you will have a side-by-side comparison. And then you have the Sandhi, which is reduced from 147 to 86 sutras. 147 sutras to 86 sutras, and then the Nama from 217 to 173. Almost most of them are there. Some exceptions are removed. And the Akyata Prakarana also reduced a lot. And the Karaka Prakarana meanings is also reduced, only necessary. And you have Krudanta reduced almost more than half, 50%. And you have Samasa is also reduced. So this gives you important sutras in each of the topics, studying which you can read the words. Here, the biggest one becomes the verbal forms, 28%. And then next one is the Tadita, then Krudanta, so then you have Nama, then finally comes Samasa here. So these are the sutras you are going to learn, and this is the division of those sutras. Okay, let's go back to the slides. Okay, so going to the next slide. So how do you study Vyakarana. Many of the teachers actually may not be telling this explicitly how to study the sutras, but I consider that this is an important aspect to be told to the students, because if you don't know how to study it, you are going to miserably fail in your endeavor to study the Vyakarana. So there are two parts to it. There is the sutra memorization and sutra application. Both of them are important. This is the exercise. You have to do the exercise. And this is the memorization. Now, this part, my plan is that we will do in the class itself, because this is an important part of studying the Vyakarana, and many students just don't do it, and they don't find the time to do it. So I'm going to be doing part of this course itself. So you don't need to put any extra endeavor to practice the sutras. You can just come along in the course and you will learn how to derive the words using the sutras. But this part, I was initially thinking that I should also put this as part of the class, but then all of my classes will have particular part redundant, which is the sutra recitation, and we will start skipping it. So I will recite the sutras and I will put it in online YouTube, so you can recite the sutras along with that YouTube video if you want it, or you can recite your own voice and then you can record it, whatever works for you. So the recommendation I give is 15 sutras, new sutras you need to learn every week. So how are you going to learn? So you don't need to actually sit and memorize everything. That's not going to be a sustainable process. So this exercise, if you just do it, then you will just remember the sutras. This is what I did, and I'm remembering the verse sutras like this. And if you follow this, it will work for you as well. 15 sutras, take 15 sutras, recite it 10 times every day. That whole week you have to do for 1 week. And the first 15 sutras. And when you go to the next week, you have to recite the same 15 sutras which you learned the previous week 10 times, along with the new sutras you are learning that week 10 times, right? So become 20 times. Then the new 15 sutras which you will read in the week after that, you just read 1 time. So you have first week, second week, third week, fourth week. So what you're going to do here is you're going to learn 1 to 15 sutras. You are going to recite 10 times. 10 times. Just to recite, look at the sutras and recite. And then the next week's sutras is from 15 to 30. You see that 1 to 15 I have put, and then I didn't put 16 to 30. I put 15 to 30 because you need to recite the last sutra of the previous verse also along here, because that's how you get the continuity of reciting the sutras. Then this one you're going to recite only 1 time. That's it. This is for the first week. Now, when you come to the second week, you are going to recite sutras 1 to 15 as well, 15 to 30. Right? So this is 10 times you are going to recite. And the third week sutra is 30 to 45. This is 30. 30 to 45. We are going to recite it one time. So this is 10 times, 1 to 15 and 15 to 30, and 30 to 41. And then the second week's pattern is what? You will continue in third week as well as fourth week. That is, here you're going to do sutras 15 to 30. And then 30 to 45, 10 times. And then here 45 to 60 to be recited one time. So you are not doing 1 to 15 in the third week. So that would be, by the time you reach the third week, it is already wrote in your memory. So that's how you start memorizing the sutras. And then fourth week, 15 to 30 sutras, 1 to 30 sutras will be in your memory. In the fifth week, 1 to 45 sutras will be in your memory. So that's how you are going to learn, and you should learn like this. Okay, so that is clear. Now for the sutra application part, we are going to use a tool called Anki. So this you don't need to do. You can do if you want. I will share the Anki app link as well, but we will do it in the class itself. Anki app is basically a flashcard, right? So for example, this is a Sandhi Sutra. It just gives an exercise, Jitendriya. It is actually Jita plus Indriya. So this A and the E, it became A, Jitendriya. So you need to tell the sutra. What sutra ordains this? Advayamidvaye. Okay. So this is the sutra that ordains it. So look at the question. This question will be shown, and you have to recite the answer. So this entire flashcard set I will share. So you can also download the Anki app, and you can download that deck of cards in your mobile phone or in your they also have a website, so you can go to their website and then you can do the same exercise. So what does Anki app do for us? Anki app actually sees which one are you good and which one you are not good. So the good part, you will click the button good here. If it is difficult for you to figure out, but you figured out finally, you will press this hard. And if you failed it, you will press it again. If it's too easy for you, you will press easy. Though I recommend you never press this, just to use these three. So basically, for example, this card, if I have pressed good, it would show me after 1.7 hours, this card will again come in the Anki app. If it's hard, it will come in very faster. If it is failure, it's immediately shown. So the more you press good on particular cards, the time will increase. It will go to even months. It won't show you the card because you're so familiar with that card. But some difficult cards, it will show you every now and then. It will tell you when the card next time is going to be shown. But failure always immediately shows up. So this calculates for you to, for you, it does the work that, which one I'm good at, which one I'm not good at. So you don't need to do that work, which one you are good at and which one you are not good at. So that's about the Anki app. Okay, now going to the next session or next slide. So how I'm going to teach you. So in each class, we are going to learn new sutras. I am in 2 or 3 sessions, I am planning to finish 15 sutras. That is basically every week I'm planning to complete 15 sutras so that you can keep up with me. Sometimes it may not be possible because some sutras are very heavy, so I'm going to reduce the pace. So, but you try to memorize, you can go ahead of me in memorization so that when it comes for application and practice, it becomes easy for you. And we will also do practice of the sutras through the Anki app. Though each one of you will have, some of the sutra, some of the things will become difficult for you in a flashcard. I am going to just follow what I am for me. But if you want to practice for yourself, I would recommend you to download the Anki app and download the deck. But otherwise, I'm going to just go through the Anki app according to my memory. That doesn't mean that because I have learned Harinamāmṛta Vyakaraṇam, I will remember everything. I will also make mistakes, but by using this flashcard technique, we are going to keep working. So Sanskrit, you have to keep working through your life. If you leave it, you're going to forget it. So that's one thing you're taking with you around. And the other part you need to do, so the other part is every sutra, the structure of Jiva Gośvāmī is he gives a sutra and then he writes a commentary called Vritti. Vritti is basically a short explanation of the sutra. So in the Vritti, he also gives examples and also some pointing out to derivations. So in most of the examples he uses Krishna's name again. So this is also benefit. So Krishna's names everywhere. So what we are going to put in the flashcard is the examples, so that when the examples come, you will recite the sutras. And if you remember all the examples, that's more than enough. When you are reading a work, Sanskrit work, you will just remember that, and you will just apply in different context. So this vritti as given, I am not going to teach, when I'm teaching the new sutra, I'm not going to teach the vritti part, but at the end of the class, I'm planning to go through this vritti for those who are interested. If you don't care about too much detail, I will just ask you to skip that part of this session or every session. But those who are interested in details, they want to study the vritti, they have so much interest in going detail, you watch this part. I'm not going to teach the commentaries. They are very detailed, and the more detailed you go, the more difficult it becomes to cover the breadth. So you have breadth and then you have depth. You can go deeper into each sutra, but then the more deeper you go, the more difficult it becomes for you to cover the breadth, right? So for those who are too much afraid, just to study the sutras, what I teach in the class, and that's fine. First, for so much curious people, study the vritti also, but commentary, one now and then, here and then you can refer. But once you complete the whole Sanskrit grammar topic, then you can come back and study the commentary. But of course, there are some places which you will have doubts. There the sutra said like this, here the sutra is saying something else. There is a conflict. So in those cases, I ask you to look into the commentary of Amrita or Bharatoshini or Madhyama commentary. There you have additional explanations to clarify your doubts, or if you have doubts, you can shoot me an email. My email ID is, I'm not going to put this in the description. It's vijay@yahoo.com. Okay. You can shoot me an email. I can answer in the next sessions, or I can write an email reply to you. What do you need to do from your side? You need to memorize the sutras. That is your effort apart from the classes you are listening to. That additional effort you need to put. Okay. So with this said, let's at least start the first verse. So Jiva Goswami actually gives 3 mangala charan verses for the first chapter, after which he starts the sutra. So today we will look at the first mangala charan verse, and then we will look at the first sutra today. Just to begin the course, I have given introduction mostly today. Okay, so this is the mangala charana verse. He also gives a reasoning here. Why did he compose this this grammar? In further mangala charana prayers also gives that reasoning. So here he says, Krishnam upasitumasya srajamiva namavalim tanavai tvaritam vitared esha tat sahityadi jamodam. So you can read the translation, but I'm going to go word by word to explain you. Krishnam upasitum, for the purpose of worshipping Krishna. So that is the intention. Krishnam upasitum. Asya srajam iva namavalim tanavai. So asya namavalim. His, asya means his, namavalim, the series of his names. So the Lord's names, a series, a sequence, like a garland, right? That's why he says srajamiva, like a garland. He takes the collection of Lord's names, and then what does he do? So he composes that, he produces this garland, beautiful garland, for the purpose of worshipping Krishna. For the purpose of worshipping Krishna, he takes his name, collection of his names, and makes it as a garland. He composes as a garland, right? And then he gives a blessing after that. Tvaritam vitared esha tat sahityadi jamodam. Quickly, this esha, this work, produce. Let the work quickly produce or bestow you. Let it bestow you. What it should bestow you? Bestow? It should bestow the amodam, the bliss. So quickly let this work bestow you the bliss. What is that bliss? Tat sahityadi ja. So that amodam, that the bliss that is born from the sahitya, sahitya means the literary works, that is about Krishna. So that the works which are written about Lord Krishna, that gives bliss. Let that bliss be also be produced or also be bestowed upon the readers quickly by this garland, beautiful garland of Harinamāmṛta Vyākaraṇam. So basically says, whatever the bliss you get from Srimad Bhagavatam, Gopala Champu, and other words, may that be quickly produced upon the readers of this, as students of this Harinamāmṛta Vyākaraṇam. He's giving a blessing. So it is always good to get the blessings of the acharyas, so that that's how we get their mercy. And by studying this work, you get the mercy of Jiva Gośvāmī. He gives blessings of Jiva Gośvāmī. He gives you. So these are the two purposes. He is so the first one is the purpose, and the second one is actually giving a benediction. So he says, the translation goes like this: to worship Krishna, let me offer the series of his names like a garland. Let this work quickly produce the happiness that arises out of literary works related to him, such as Srimad Bhagavatam, Gopala Champu. Okay, so this is the first sutra we are studying. There are two more Mangala Charan verses which we will cover in the next sessions. but just to, for the completion's sake of this first course, first session of this course, I have also put the first sutra. The first sutra is basically telling you how these letters came. So these are the letters of Sanskrit. So where did that come from? Narayanad udbhuto ayam varna kramaha. Narayanad udbhuto ayam varna kramaha. So if you split it, it will become Narayanad udbhutaha ayam. This from varna kramaha, series of sequence of varnas. Narayana, from Lord Narayana. Udbhutaha, where born, appeared. What appeared? I am this. Varna kramaha, sequence of varnas. This sequence of varnas have appeared from Lord Narayana himself. Two things to keep in mind. One is the whole varnas, aksharas, came from Lord Narayana. And not just the aksharas, is also the order of the aksharas. There's two interpretation you can take it. Varna kramaha. So what Panini does is he has created something called Maheshwara Sutras. It goes like that. He has changed the arrangement of these letters. This is the arrangement of the letters. If you know Hindi, you would be studying in your school like this. But the Panini has changed this arrangement for his own purpose. But Jiva Goswami hasn't changed this arrangement. Rather, he divides this arrangement into different labels, with the different labels, which we will study in further sutras. So these are the letters that came from Lord Narayana. So when I say letter, it is not that this form of the letter, this text we have written here, which is, it is not that this shape has come from Narayana. No, this is a shape called Devanagari. It is part of a script called Devanagari. This is a part of the script called Roman letters, which is we use for English and other languages as well. Roman letters. But this is a Devanagari. This is very recent in the sense of it just came 1,000 years back. But before that, Sanskrit existed. So when he says Varna Kramaha, this actually is the sound. This is Ka, this is Ka, this is Ga, this is Ga. This sound itself came from Lord Narayana. The text representation, it is differently used. For example, in South India, they were using Tamil letters, Tamil script to put the same sound. They use Tamil script to write Sanskrit. So similarly in Telugu also they do the same thing. In Bengali, they were using the mangala letters to write a Sanskrit work. Even up to the time of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, when he has written his work, Sanskrit works, he actually writes in Bengali script. The Gośvāmīs also did the same thing. They didn't use Devanagari. But nowadays, I think from 19th century, most of the works are standardized to Devanagari. People would be using this Devanagari. If you want to actually go through some of the works printed in 1900, around that time, you would need to study this script as well. It's not so difficult to study, but we are going to use this Roman letter. So I'm going to pronounce this. There are around 50 letters. Actually speaking, this is actually a combination of two letters. This is Ka, this consonant Ka, and then you have Sha here. This is a combination of two letters, but Jiva Gośvāmī has added this also, part of the whole series of letters. So total around 50 letters we have, total 50 letters we have. Okay. So this is A. So A, basically, this part is called the vowels. This is called the consonants. And this is called the sibilants, they say, semi-vowels, half vowel, half consonant, like that. So here, vowel, what does a vowel means? When you are pronouncing, you don't obstruct the flow of air in your mouth. That is a vowel. See? There is no obstruction. But here, so this is actually coming from here. You say there are two letters. There is ka is there. There is is there. That is coming from here. Because without this vowel, you cannot pronounce this letter K. You can in English you have another sound to pronounce that K. In Sanskrit you cannot say like that. It's very difficult to pronounce. You cannot do that. So you always pronounce a consonant with an alphabet together. Sorry, which a vowel to with it. Ka. You can pronounce ki also. You take this e, you bring it, it becomes ki. So you take this one, is ki, like that. Okay. So the consonants have to be pronounced with the vowels. Okay. So consonants, there is the obstruction of air. There is an obstruction of air there. You're not freely pronouncing like open your mouth, it just goes out. No. Okay. So that's the vowels. This is e, let's say e. But the matra, how long you are going to say, is very short. E. I just extended it to tell you that there is no obstruction of air there. Right? Until the end of the time you want to pronounce. Of course, there you stop, but otherwise the letter itself doesn't stop there. This is U. This is U. This is R. Some people say Ri. Some people say Ru, but it is R. R. Some people say R, because the vowel, as I said, it should not obstruct. When you say it's obstructing there, so you have to say that's the sound. This is the extended sound of that. You see that there is a set here it's forming here. This is this is little bit you have to extend. This one is short E. This is E. Ooh. Ooh. Okay. We are going to pronounce it. It's very difficult to say that. And I don't know whether it is correct or not. Some people say, but many other people say. Some people say ri. No, so many different sounds. So it's so these are this is a rare letter. This is also a rare letter. This is also a rare letter. These three are rare letters. Okay. Most of the times you won't see these things. Even the Bhagavad Gita in some places, this letter is there. Yes. So until this point, everything is sparse. You see then after that it changes. A, I, it is not E, not the English E, you have to say A. This is I, O, ow, some people say aha. Fine. According to some teachers, you shouldn't say aha. You're adding extra sound at the end. You have to say ah. You have to stop there. But the teacher, when he teaches you, he pronounces it as aha. Why? If he says ah, sometimes the student may misunderstand. Oh, he said just to say ah. He did not say ah. That thing is not there, right? So he did not say that. So you would think like that. So that's why he extends that aha to differentiate it from ah. Anyways, this ah is also we are adding here. It's an addition. And the actual letter is this one. Like that. So this is Visarga. This just extends the previous letter. Aha, like that. Like, or ah, like that. You release the air from the previous letter. This is you hold the air. There is also one more symbol, like this is the Chandra Bindu, which is a nasal tone. It adds a nasality, which we will study in the Vyakaranam itself. The first chapter itself, we will study that later. Then this is ka. Again, it is added, a vowel is added for pronunciation aid, otherwise it's difficult to pronounce. So this is ka. Is added everywhere. Okay. Ka. You have to add aspiration to it. You have to blow the air. This letter, when you blow the air, it becomes this. This is ka. This is ka. Ka. Blow off, sudden blow of air. You need to do ka. This is voiced one. You have to say ga. Ga. This is ka. This is ga. Ga. Same like this one, right? I will change the color too much right here. Then this letter is similar to this one, g, but with some air. G, 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 with the air. So these two are pairs, and these two are pairs. And then this one is nasal. Ng, ng, ng. Okay, very difficult, but try to pronounce it. Ng. This is cha, cha with the air. Same thing. This entire row follows the same pattern. Like this. Cha, cha, ja, ja, nya, ta, ta, da, dha, na, na. This na, we will come to that. Ta, tha, da, dha, na. So this na, you're touching the tongue with your teeth. This na, you're touching the upper palate with your tongue. The tongue touches the teeth here, the tongue touches the upper palate. I will show a picture next session, because in this session we are not going to look at the vritti. The vritti explains where this letter originates from your mouth. So when we study the vritti next class, we'll look at that. I will show you a picture also. This is pa, this is pa, with the with this one. In Hindi, you would say this as fa, but in Sanskrit, it is not fa, it is pa. This is pa with air blown, pa. Okay. This is ba. This is ba with air blown, with sound. Ma. Ya, ra, la, va. Here also you have added the a sound everywhere from the vowels. The same here, everywhere here also. Okay. Sha, sha, sa, ha. So, this is actually very complicated. Some people say it has to be pronounced differently, but the pronunciation I'm going to tell is sha. So this comes closer to the teeth, sha. This comes closer to the palate, sha. This is sa, sa, sa. It is more closer to the lips. You can say sa, sa, or teeth. There's a pressure, sh. This is sh. This is sa. This is ha. This is combination of ka and sh. This letter and this letter, ksha, ksha. Okay. So that is the first sutra today. So memorize this one. Narayana Dudbhutoyam Varna Kramaha. So when you are pronouncing it together, if you want to pronounce with the Sandhi, you shouldn't be pronouncing this A here. You cannot put A here, okay? Because it's deleted because of the Sandhi rule, which we have first chapter, we will study how that happens. So Narayana Dudbhutoyam, Bhutoyam, not Bhuto Ayam, Bhutoyam. Narayana Dudbhutoyam Varna Kramaha. You can also split and say Narayana Udbhutaha Ayam Varna Kramaha. Or you can just memorize it like this. Narayana Dudbhutoyam Varna Kramaha. All right. Okay, thank you everyone for watching this, and I will continue the session next week. Hare Krishna.